Basically, what I'm going to share with you is a string option that is extremely reliable. I hope the computer does not screw up, right? Here we go. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. You saw that. Kunimitsu was one of the best backdashes in the game. I could switch this to Lisa, she's not avoiding it. Switches to Lily, she's not avoiding it. Switches to Miguel, he's not avoiding it. And if they avoid it, there's always another option to not do the chop, and you can do the leg. The leg option, which will not be backdashed. So, what's special about this string, and why you should be doing it? Forward 2, RFF-DF4, RFS1. Why should you be doing those three things? Now, I only advise you to do this exact string if forward 2 hits, because it's +9 on hit, which means your opponent can't do anything. Power Crush, no. Rage Art, maybe. Most likely not. And of course, if you're a 2D character, DP is always in. Especially if you're doing EX DP, that will always go in. But regular DP, probably not as well. Why? Because at +9, they can't step nor avoid RFF-DF4. They cannot. So they have to eat a +7 mix-up. Of course, at +9, there's a lot of things you can do, like down to 4. But it's a low. And of course, with all lows, or special mids, those can be low crushed. Why not a high? Like RFF-24 into +7. Same thing with RFF-DF4. Same frames. Frontier, why not? Because it's a high. You'll lose your +9 advantage if they just down jab, if they just high crush. So, why mid then? Because they can't interrupt the mid anyway. And if you're good at confirming the counter hit, that counter hit specifically, you're gonna get a lot of damage, and you're gonna get big plus frames on top of it. Of course, naturally, it's a little bit difficult to be using the plus frames when they're far away, right? So let's assume they get counter hit, right? That's +13 in a range where you can still pressure. They can't press, but they know they can just backdash. But that's like the best option already at that point. Maybe an RA. It could go in. But at this point, I can still do down 3. I can still do 1-2. I can do running 3 instantly. I can do forward 3. I can do forward neutral 4. You're not really pressing at +13 to cover Y, the mid. That's what makes this really good. And it can't be backdashed either. Nor step. See, if I do step, right? Step left. They're not stepping that. They're not stepping it. You can't step it. It doesn't matter what character you are. You're not stepping it. It's +9, bro. You're -9. You can't. I can do all options. None. I could switch it to Lily. It's still not gonna work. Backdash is the best, and this is already one of the best backdashes. See? You end at -2. That's pretty good frame data, if you ask me. There's a lot of stuff you can still do at -2, and you're at a relatively good distance to be back in neutral. Of course, depending on the stage you're playing, let's say your back was behind the wall and you did forward 2 and you did this exact string, you now earn space from the wall. Your back's not against the wall anymore. You have space. And let's say you're doing this while their back's near the wall. Now their back's at the wall at that point. And of course, you're in the middle of the stage. Maybe they're a lot closer to the wall at that point. So that's what makes this string really good. This option really good. And the thing is, you don't need to worry about RFF-DF4. Why? Because on hit, on block, it's +7. And then on hit, it's +15. So you don't even need to think about it. This is an instant mix. But of course, there are options that lose at +7, unfortunately. Depending on what the opponent does. But most of the time, they're not avoiding the chop. They're not avoiding RFS1. Or, if they can avoid RFS1, they're not avoiding RFS forward 3. Oh, there, see. In this case, since Kunimitsu has a really good backdash, and with the same as Lily, Alisa, Miguel, they're gonna avoid the kick. But if they have a bad backdash, they're not avoiding the kick. Here, no matter how good her backdash is, she's not avoiding the chop. That's important. And the thing is, you can still extend it. And of course, they can avoid that and punish it. But hey, if they're not backdashing consistently, they're gonna get hit by the second hit. Or you're gonna be 0 on block and RFF again, where you can just backlash. And if they press, you win. And if they don't, +4. And if you do the kick, assuming they don't have a good backdash, right? The character doesn't have a good backdash, you can delay this and to get, you know, maybe a free hit. And if it doesn't, it's +4 on block. That's like the importance of this option, this string option. It's a guaranteed option. It's a mid string. This is really good. As soon as you do it, just do it. You have nothing to worry about. And if once your opponent gets conditioned by this, like they're like, oh, okay, he's always gonna go for the mid. So I'm just gonna block, right? After I get hit by forward 2. Because you can't do this on block. Okay? Reminder, you can't do this on block. Only on hit. So you have to confirm it on hit. Just like RFF DF4, you have to confirm this counter hit. It's difficult, but you can get there. So once your opponent's already conditioned that he's like, okay, he's gonna block mid. Okay, then you can be like, hello, allow me to introduce myself. Stance switch. Hello. And then you can bring back the mid. And they'll be like, oh, so what do I do now? Do I challenge or do I not challenge? And of course, if they attempt to challenge, and let's say they challenge in the RFF DF4 and you're good at confirming it, you already know how much damage you're getting. You're getting 48 damage and +13. Yes, you can say it's unfair, but I'd say it's pretty fair. I'd say it's pretty fair. Why is it fair? Right? It's fair because this is 16 frames. Fine. It's at a decent speed, right? Slightly high crushes. Slightly. And when I mean it's slightly high crush, not exactly high crush. It like evades, because Hwoarang turns around a little bit, right? That's it. That's all it does. So 16 frames, -9, -2 in RFF. That's the problem. You get put into RFF. Unlike in previous games, like let's say Tekken 6, you could hold forward 2 forward and he'll go back into LFF, which was great. That was great. But now you're stuck. The game will never allow you to go back into LFF. You have to do it manually. And doing it manually means eating up more frames. The other thing is that you can avoid a lot of the mix-ups from RFF DF4. So if I do RFF DF4 right now, right? And do the axe... she needs to block, right? On block. Of course, on hit, there's a lot of things you can't avoid. It's like for a lot of characters. It's not Hwoarang exclusive. You see that? The axe kick missed. See that? Jab whiffed. Oh no, the hell sweep whiff. That's a block, that's -14. I'm getting hit by FF42. And if not FF42, I'm gonna get hit by another punish. Maybe 4-2 into a backturn mix-up, see? It's fair. And that's just off backdashing. You can just backdash a lot of the RFF DF4 stuff. Well, of course, not there. But the reason why RFS forward 3 was backdashed earlier during the mid string, which is forward 2 RFF DF4 into whatever the RFS option is, because that's space eaten up. But if you do RFF DF4 immediately, you're since it's the second option, there's not enough space for the opponent to backdash it away, right? So yes, that's why it's fair. And let's say you, so that's I covered forward 2, 16 frame, blah blah blah, RFF, RFS DF4, a lot of options backdashed. The biggest reward being the hell sweep and the axe kick and RFS back 3. That's all backdashed. And then of course, if they want to mix it up, they have to motion switch into Flamingo, which is already a risk in itself. And if you make a good guess, a hard read, or you already know he's gonna motion switch into left Flamingo, you can just RA. You can already press a button. Hwoarang can't win the moment he motion switches. He needs a hesitations notice from the opponent in order to motion switch. So you need to be like a half second behind. That way, when you motion switch, you're safe. At least Hwoarang's safe. And of course, if you're the opponent, that's unfortunate. For you, you missed the motion switch. So, why is RFS 1 fair? The end part of the mid. Because the second option doesn't hit. At all. If she just keeps backdashing, no reward. And hell, that could be a punish. That could be a big whiff punish to Hwoarang. So, all he gets is this. -2. And you're back in neutral. Which, in this matchup alone, is something you don't want to do often. You don't want Kunimitsu running away and just hit and running you 24/7. Which is, she can do that. She can easily do that. So you don't want that to happen to you. So it's fair. Of course, let's say RFS1 hits, right? RFS1 hits. You can repeat. No, you can't. See? It's fair. It only works once. Mid, forward 2, RFF, DF4 into RFS1 only works once. The next time you get it, let's say the RFS1 hits, you have to think of something else. You cannot default back into forward 2. Because what happens if you default back to forward 2 is that RFF DF4 whiffs and now you're dead. And let's say you entered Flamingo, all the more you're dead. Of course, you could catch them with RFS F4 or RFS back 4, but those are risks. And if you want to minimize the amount of risks you take, you shouldn't be doing that. So, if you get RFS1, do not default back into LFF forward 2. Go straight up for down 3-4. Do it. You're +9. At that point. And of course, once the opponent knows that, that's when you do J-Sky. And that's fine if they block it. You go back to neutral. And of course, that's going to be on both players. How do you handle your neutral? What have you guys been doing throughout the match? What has been conditioned? What hasn't been conditioned, etc. What are you willing to risk? Of course, that will always come into play. So that's what makes this mid string really, really good. And at the same time, not abusable. You can only do it once. Now, of course, you could say stuff like, well, I mean, we mentioned it earlier. The lows and the highs after forward 2 or LFS2 or RFS1. Again, if you do a high or you do a low, those can still be beaten. There's a reason why you want to do the mid. And of course, if you're going to say do DF1, then you're just doing a check already at that point. You're not earning anything. But look how far she is already. She's gone. She's gone. You're not in down 3-4 range. Unless if you do DF1+2, you're -3 and she still gets out. Yes, it's a check. I get you. Checks are important. Mid-checking is important. But, I mean, if you're gonna end in LFF anyway, you might as well just do that. And of course, maybe for the second time around, let's say if RFS1 hits, then I would... Oh, sorry. I can't agree. You died. Hwoarang died. There. Now we can agree. Agree to disagree, right? You have to do DF1+2 there. Of course, or you can do DF4. But see, you have to spend your frames right when you're mid-checking. And of course, -2, -3 is fine. But if you want a little bit more... That's see, it's +6 and she's running away. Look at this. She can't really run away. That's the difference. All the LFS2, the forward 2, RFS1, they can't run away. But why on DF1 they can run away? DF1+2 they can sort of run away. See? And of course even DF4, that's pretty far. Ah, you're gonna be backdashing a lot of options. Backdash. See? Fair. Fair. So yes, the mid string, fair. You can only use it once. And then at that point, if RFS1 hits, you have to think of something else. You have to risk. You either have to risk by going low or high, or doing a mid that may not give you your turn back. And put you in a neutral situation. And if, let's say, you're playing Leroy, or, you know, Fakumram, Kazumi, Shaheen, well, you gave them a slight advantage at that point. Because you're no longer in the range that Hwoarang wants to be. Now, I'm not saying Hwoarang can't operate in neutral. He can. He can operate in neutral very, very well. But that's up on the player to do it, right? So that covers the mid lesson. Now, of course, if you found it interesting, awesome. If you're a Hwoarang player, use it. And of course, if you're here for anti-Hwoarang stuff, yes, Backdash is my best friend. So again, thank you to all the people who liked, shared, and followed the cheese while I was going over the mid string. So of course, again, this is Open Hwoarang Lessons. I'm Frontier, Crimson Wolves Frontier. Hashtag run with the pack. If you have any questions, violent reactions regarding Hwoarang or the game in general, please let me know in the comments. I'll answer it to the best of my abilities. So now since my movement and my execution has more or less been warmed up, I try to mix it as if I'm in an actual game. So wave while standing 4, backdash, wave while standing 4, flamingo forward 3, down 3 4, backdash, and then whiff punish back 3. And of course I do that for one side, then I go to the back to the other side while standing 4, forward 3, DF1, sidestep J-Sky, DF4, strings, etc. Then after that I go straight into match.